flying and faith are both very constant learning experiences. You're constantly learning, you're constantly being a student. And even if you're teaching somebody else, you're learning, you're understanding it in a better depth and seeing it from another perspective. My name's Tyler Caldeira. I'm a first year at the University of Georgia. I'm an intended marketing and finance major. Um, I'm from Brookville, Maryland. Yeah.
What do you like to do in your free time?
My free time, like to go to the gym, study various things. I'm a pilot, so I'm studying a lot of aviation related things. Yeah.
What kinds of other various things do you like to study?
I like learning about the world, like the news, sometimes global politics. It depends.
Yeah, you got lots of different interests. It's good to be well rounded. So let's kind of talk a little about your faith journey. Have you
Yeah.
been religious your whole life? What's kind of your faith background kind of been like, Tyler?
Yeah. So I am I'm a lifelong Christian. I was baptized Episcopal, and I became a Catholic. I got baptized in the Catholic Church in fourth grade, so that is age 10 or 11. My mom was a Catholic for most of her life, and then she went kind of away from the Catholic Church. So I was raised in the Episcopalian Church for a while, but then she went back to the Catholic Church.
Why did she leave and come back?
Uh, I think she just had some qualms with the way that the church was run, I assume. She's never been real, like, super direct about it. Um, I've never, I've asked her, but not very, not in depth.
What do you kind of prefer, the Episcopalian or the Catholicism?
Yeah, I prefer the Catholic Church. Feel like it's more for me. Feel like it's a little more serious. Um, at least in my interpretation, it's a lot. And it's the original church. So
so kind of more of that traditionalist
yeah,
approach.
yeah.
What's your favorite part of the masses?
I like the homilies. The homilies can make or break the mass. Like obviously that's not the whole point. The main centerpiece is the Eucharist. But if there's not a good sermon, if there's not a good homily, it can take away from the mass. But if there's really good, poignant one that sticks in your head for a long time, then you end up coming away with a lot more than what you came there with. So,
Yeah, I think the homilies are always great because they can apply not just to religious, teachings, but then in your daily life. It helps you kind of to figure out how you can apply those religious practices into your own daily life, which I think is nice because sometimes you need those practical things to be like, how are we supposed to live out all these? We're reading all these scriptures, but how do we actually live these out in our daily lives? So that's what
yeah,
I totally agree with you about that homily being an important part of the mass for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a favorite verse or Bible passage?
I do. It's just short and sweet. It's Psalm 16, verse 8, and it is, I will not be shaken. And that one's always really kind of inspired me and been like a good guide, simple mantra to kind of live by and to just kind of settle yourself down whenever you're feeling riled up, anything negative or not confident um, in yourself or others or worrying about life. Just remembering that all your strength comes from God and that being shaken is something that if you follow God, he won't he doesn't want for you and he won't allow. I also really like it's not a verse, but it is a quote from St. Augustine. It is work as though everything depended on you, and pray as though everything depended on God.
What does that quote mean to you?
Just to do what you can uh, in your actions, in your words, in your life here on earth, and like making sure that you do right by yourself and other people, represent yourself and your faith well. But ultimately, everything depends on God in the end. So glorify Him every chance you get, and pray, pray like you mean it.
Definitely. I want to go back to the verse you mentioned in Psalms because that kind of pivots well to what I was going to ask you
Mm-hmm.
about. You mentioning how the verse talks about not being shaken. Has there been a time where you felt like your faith's kind of been, tested? You've kind of felt a little insecure in your faith?
Um, I wouldn't say particularly insecure in terms of like lacking a belief or anything like that. But there's ebbs and flows in your faith life, or at least in mine, especially when you're a young kid and it's been instilled in you from a very young age. And transitioning to becoming a Catholic, really, at least I got a great deal of appreciation and zeal for God during that time. And then, you kind of come in and out while you're still learning your way. It's building a relationship with God.
Has there been a specific moment in your life, specific instance where you've kind of seen God show up for you?
I would say every time that I'm able to, honestly, I like my prayers that are at the beginning or end of the day or throughout, they all start with, Dear God, thank you for this day, something along those lines. Thank you for allowing me to live in it, uh, and to glorify you. And every day that I wake up and everything that I'm able to do is truly a blessing, because I've been blessed beyond belief, and been allowed to just exist and to live my life. And there are plenty of people who haven't been able to do that, and I've been able to live a very comfortable and happy life with a lot of opportunities that so many people aren't afforded.
Yeah, good for you for keeping gratitude uh, at the center of everything. Because you're right, there's a lot of good things we got going for us, and but remembering that all good things come from God and being
Mhm.
grateful for everything we have. That's awesome. Good for you for keeping
Thank you.
gratitude first. I want to ask you a little bit about flying because I think in
Mhm.
some ways faith can be a little bit like flying. Do you notice any parallels in like from faith to flying? Maybe it's, how with gaining altitude takes time. I mean, the pilot lingo better than me, but what kind of similarities, from your experience flying can you kind of parallel to faith?
Yeah, they're both very multifaceted. So there's a lot to know about both of them. And flying and faith are both very constant learning experiences. You're constantly learning, you're constantly being a student. And even if you're teaching somebody else, you're learning how to teach the specific thing that you're teaching, and you're understanding it in a better depth and seeing it from another perspective. So either everything that you do in both of them, every effort that you put into both of them is really like truly a learning experience. So that's what I would say is the biggest parallel. They also both take a lot of practice, to maintain, especially because everything takes practice to learn, but to maintain it takes a lot of practice. Because, for instance, riding a bike takes practice. Learning how to ride a bike takes practice, but once you know how to do it, it's very hard to forget. Same thing with driving, a handful of other things, and a large amount of other things. But with flying, you have to keep up to date with the knowledge and the skills. So, and you have to practice pretty frequently. So I would say that that's a very common thread. The common thread between your faith life and flying is that it's easy to regress, but it's also easy to progress. So as long as you put in the work and you practice, things will things should go well.
Talk about the turbulence aspect, because I know you were flying some of those relatively smaller planes. Not those big airline planes have turbulence too, but it seems more manageable. But especially in those smaller planes, I've never been in one, but I'm sure
Hmm.
the turbulence is probably you could feel it more, especially in the pilot
Yeah,
or in the engine. How do you navigate turbulence while flying? And is it kind of similar to how you might handle turbulence in life? Because we all deal with turbulence.
yeah, yeah. Uh, you can't same way you can't control what like all of what happens to you in your life. You can only control how you respond to it. You can only control um, how you respond to turbulence and flying on it because it's something that is always going to happen. It's not always going to be there, but you will experience it guaranteed. It's impossible to not to go through life or to go through a flight with or to go through your flying journey without it. It's pretty common and it will be scary the first few times, but after a while you learn to embrace it as part of the journey and to kind of back off of your fear of it if you have a fear of it, and just kind of get used to it, get comfortable with it, and then it just becomes part of the experience.
How do you react when you first feel that initial jolt of turbulence while flying?
Now, or how I used to?
Well, I guess both. So I guess there's been a change.
Yeah, yeah. Used to grip the controls harder and try to correct and often overcorrect on the controls for the plane bumping around and changing attitude or thing. But now I don't really. I just ride it out, and I'm not particularly worried about it. It's not gonna do anything to the plane. I'm not in danger. Plane's not in danger. Nobody else in the plane is in danger.
How do you know that? You just know that because is that just you speaking, projecting confidence, or do you just kind of have that certainty? Is there something that you know is certain about it?
Yeah, I mean, unless it's too much turbulence to be flying that day. If I've done my due diligence and I know that I am able to fly that day, that the weather's good enough, and that I feel confident in my skills to handle that weather, uh, then I know that there's no turbulence. Almost certainly is going to give me any real issues uh, in being anything threatening. Because if I make sure of that, because that's one of the things that you check for before you can fly, is that you won't. Nothing bad is going to happen if you get light to moderate turbulence in a plane that's well maintained.
What's the worst conditions you've flown in?
By myself, I've never flown in bad conditions. Period. Um, it's always been like I've had turbulence, but that's not bad conditions. Um, the worst conditions that I've ever flown in. I mean, yeah, I've been through some clouds with my dad, and there's been bumps and stuff and all of that, but maybe icing on the wing. But the plane we were flying had inflatable. It's called a boot on the wing, so it's inflatable. So you press a button in the plane, and the boot inflates with air, and it breaks the ice off of the wing, and it heats up the wing.
You said boot, BOOT.
Yeah.
Okay, and it heats up the wing when it's icy.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't heat up the wing. Pitot heats up the pitot tube that keeps your airspeed and stuff going, but it basically balloons. It's like it acts like a balloon, and it inflates and it pops the ice and it cracks it open and makes it fall off the wing so that your wing isn't nice.
I see. You know all the terminology. I don't. I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
one more flying analogy that I think about is, and again, I've never flown some of those smaller planes. I've only been in the big airline planes. But when it's raining on the ground and you
Hmm.
go up and you go up and all of a sudden it's sunny.
Yeah,
Has that ever happened to you?
yeah. That's a pretty common thing when you're flying at high altitude. I mean, you have to, no matter what it looks like on the ground, it could be very different. It matters a lot more what's above the clouds um, when you're going on a long flight. As long as it's safe to fly below the clouds, rain is not necessarily an object uh, to a safe flight. So, yeah.
You think that has some parallels to life on how
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to, sometimes you have to work to get to a safer, happier, more holy place. And sometimes there's a lot of difficulty or sin or whatever it may be in your life, and you have to you have to work to get out of it, but you can get out of it.
definitely. I love all those analogies from flying because I feel like, life is
Yeah,
like a big flight that we all kind of go on. And we're
yeah,
gonna have
that's true.
turbulence, like you said, but it's up to us on how we're gonna manage it.
That's true. That's true.
So kind of pivoting back a little bit in the home stretch here. Uh why do you love Jesus?
Because because he's my Lord and Savior, and he's created the world that we live in, given me everything that I have in my life.
What's your biggest blessing, in your opinion?
Probably, probably my family, I would say. Um, Besides that, I get to wake up and live every day. Uh, Probably my family. My family's great. I really love them and cherish them a lot. Um,
Any of those people to your right, my left?
what? Oh,
Any
yeah, yeah. That's got that wall has a few pictures of me, a few pictures of some friends, and a few pictures of my girlfriend on it. So yeah, all of them as well.
All right, and then kind of to wrap things up, Tyler, you've mentioned how you've been, let me back up. You've obviously been involved in Christianity your whole life.
Hmm.
But what might you say to someone who's maybe new to Christianity or maybe hesitant to learn more from all your experience? What
Yeah,
might you say to them?
yeah. I would say more than anything, know that you're loved and cherished uh, by God and by Jesus, but just be curious. Be curious, be zealous about wanting to know more and to learn and to be open to new opportunities and uh, blessings, however they express themselves. I mean, you can't you can't be you can't fully embrace something if you're not curious about it, and you can't learn anything if you're not curious. So if you go into it with a closed mind of any kind, I mean, you're not gonna get out of it what you're not gonna get anything. You're not gonna get what you want. You might get what you want if you want to fail and you don't want to find anything. Then go in with a closed mind. But if you're even open to the possibility of changing your faith life, be curious.
Definitely. One last question here. I saw you got the bracelet there. What is the bracelet?
Yeah, so I have two bracelets on. One of them is a purple uh what would Jesus do bracelet, which is just a reminder to, follow in Jesus' footsteps and act like uh act like he set the example. And the other one is a little rosary bracelet. It's a little hard to see. the cross is right here, and then each bead is just made out of fabric and a string. But each bead is a Hail Mary, and then this is an outline.
So you like to have your faith on you, which is awesome.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Is that something you look at? Just a reminder, your situation. What is Jesus? What would Jesus do? Maybe Our Father, Hail Mary.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, really appreciate your time sharing a little bit about your faith and all the great analogies about flying. I think that could definitely relate to a lot of people for sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Thanks so much, man. Hopefully we could have you back soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Great talking to you. Great questions. Great interview.